There it is. Welcome to Monday morning quarterback edition of Brown and Browner. We're picking up from all the pieces from yesterday. It was a good and entertaining game, or good and entertaining day of games, I should say. But some surprises here and there, and we'll go over some of the weakness points and the strengths and everything else that came out of it. You're sharing a little bit.
Surprising to see. Yesterday there were 2 blocked kicks for return for touchdowns. Two. That's not often seen.
Nope.
And
it was yeah.
I gotta say one more thing. What is it with quarterbacks waiting until the last moment? Jordan Love in the end zone, throwing the ball when you're parallel to the ground being hit, as opposed to throwing it sooner, or just taking the safety versus giving up 7. I don't know, but I've seen more of that. I saw Caleb Williams do that last week. What is it with I'm going to hold the ball and then panic when I feel the pressure to throw either ground the ball or throw interceptions when you're on your own half of the field? What's up with that?
You think it's an image thing? Like if you throw it too soon and you don't have anybody open and you're in trouble, you throw it away, right? And
right.
Okay. Do your fellow players or do the defense see you as a chicken for doing that? No, I think it's a smart move to honestly do it anytime you can. I mean, Peyton Manning used to do it. I don't think he ever waited till the last minute. As far as I remember.
Yeah.
Young. I didn't see these guys wait till the last second to do anything. And maybe it has something to do with this current crop of folks thinking, hey, I can do magical things like Pat Mahomes. I'm sorry, but not everybody can do that.
That's it right there. Everybody is another Patrick Mahomes effect, where everybody's trying to be spectacular on every play. Sometimes you just got to live to fight another day. There are 3 or 4 downs to get you a first down. Or if you have to punt, you got to punt. Another thing, something we saw yesterday. Buffalo Bills are tied with the ball on their 5-yard line, whatever it was. They passed the ball not once, not twice, but 3 straight times for incompletions. Give the ball back. Now they got a punt from their end zone. Give the ball back to the Texans at midfield with about 20 seconds left. What kind of sense does that make? Why aren't you just running the ball and taking overtime?
Well, do you have that little trust in James Cook? That's sad. That's sad if that's the case, because I thought that was supposed to be your bread and butter this year, is to try to
and
get back to the
been. James Cook has performed. He's done his job.
Absolutely. He did his job. You had Khalil Shakir out. I mean, I'm sorry, but you go to the run. You go to your tight end if you have to. I mean, that's about what you do.
I see, but I'm saying you don't go you go one time, run the ball. The other team is not trying to, even if they do call 3 timeouts, which I think the Texans may have had 2 or 3 at the time, then they run all of their timeouts out. Now they have to throw a Hail Mary. There's no opportunity for them to kick a field goal.
You keep the defense honest. Otherwise, they're just going to sit there and press you basically the entire time, and you're screwed. Basically, I totally agree. No, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like offensive coordinators, I don't know whether they become stubborn and think that they're better than everyone else, or do they not realize you still have to play mind games in order to win? That's the way it works. You got to keep the defense on its toes and guessing as to what you're going to do. It's almost like you're saying, hey, defense, I dare you to stop the run that I know you're going to watch coming here. I'm sorry. There is a battle of physical wits, and there's other certain NFL teams that are better than others. It's as simple as that. So
that's true.
What do you do to overcome it? You try to trick it. I mean, the opposite side of the ball, you guys got selfishly, again, I talked about Steve Spagnuolo. We don't have A-level talent at every single position on the Chiefs. We don't.
No.
You know what?
On the front line, and maybe 1 or 2 of the defensive backs. The linebackers are okay.
But we don't have that star-studded, year 2000 Ravens or Buccaneers, those defenses. We don't have that. So what do? We scheme. And we scheme the shit out of it to where the offense is having to conform to our defense because we're covering so well.
Well, see Minnesota.
Yeah, that's
Brian
right.
Flores may not be a good head coach or whatever he did with Tua. I have no idea. But he plays football the way you got to play football from a defensive coordinator. Put pressure on the quarterback. Don't just sit back in your zone coverages. Otherwise, you get picked apart if the quarterback has it's worth his salt in reading defenses. You got to be like that. But for me, it's still this idea that here's a coach Your team, unfortunately, they tied it on the field goal, whatever. And then you got the ball, you're backed up in your end zone. That's like clock management 101.
Sir.
Okay, we're not going to do anything here. And usually you'll see teams do this even when it's during the middle of the game. They'll run the ball 3 times, give their punter enough space to be able to punt the darn ball, and then rely on their defense to hold them. Why are you doing this with 20 seconds left? Why are you passing the ball with 20 seconds left? I'm sorry, McDermott.
Yeah.
Did somebody, like, there was no one saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we should just run the ball. Josh, shouldn't you say to your court, you know what? We're not going to win the game from our 4-yard line. That's not going to happen. So why don't we just run the ball so we can go to overtime and hopefully get the coin flip so we can run down there and score a touchdown and win.
Well, you said the magic name that was about to come out of my mouth. This is McDermott's fault. I mean, yeah, the players obviously on the field, but McDermott, you've been in 3 or 4 press conferences that I can count over the last 5 years where he said, yeah, it was clock management. Hello?
Do you learn from your mistakes? You can't just keep saying the same excuse, though. That oh well, that's on me.
I'm sorry, but last year in the playoffs, you blew it because of clock management. The year before when you played the Chiefs, clock management. The year before,
so he's not learning, and that cost him a game. And right now, Buffalo's reeling a little bit, and they're fortunate to be in the division they're in because they could still win their division even with a 500 record.
Any other division, they're screwed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you gotta. But the thing is, if you keep repeating these bad habits, it's going to constantly creep up and bite you because you just named over the last couple of years things that they've done, and they're still doing those wrong things. Josh Allen is great, but I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're I don't know, old Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning. You are not trying to score from your 2-yard line with 20 seconds left in the game. You're not.
And definitely not new Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes did that in the playoff scenario because they had to. You lose, you're out.
That's the playoffs, pressure situation. I mean, you do what you got to do. This is a regular season. You think practically to win the game. I mean, it's as simple as that.
and actually, it wasn't even that. They were down 3, so they had to try to score with 17 seconds left, which they miraculously did, and then won in overtime. But that is the situation and the situation called for that. The situation yesterday called for them to just run it 3 times into the middle, punt the ball in the air. By the time it touches the ground, the time is out, and you get the chance to go to overtime. Stupid, just straight stupid.
No, I'll throw it down even backward. Like you just said, like there's obviously a lot of kicking issues yesterday and stuff like that too, around the entire league, all around. Some of it falls on the kicker. Yesterday, I believe the Cincinnati one fell on its holder, which was just crazy.
That was crazy. McPherson doesn't miss, and the holder bobbled the ball. Yeah. And that was like Ace Ventura. I was like, laces out.
Laces out. It was so sad. Finkel and Iron and Finkel. Come on. I mean, it was tragic to watch. I'm sitting there like, I mean, again, biased by Ravens fan here. I'm like, oh, this is an exciting game, and I'm thinking like Burrow's going to win this. Like, I just know he's going to win this.
I thought the game was over. If he kicks the field goal, the game is over.
Yeah, Slim Shady's out there, gets in the middle. They run it up the middle. I'm like, oh, this is teed up for McPherson. No problem. Dude, rookie holder screws it up. Now, I don't know if you also noticed, like, all these, like, kicking errors and stuff. There were a lot of, like, backup kickers kicking yesterday because apparently the bleed kickers were all getting injured and all sorts of stuff all over the league.
The one San Francisco kicker, he tried to tackle that dude. It was a good tackle, but look, dude, you go to practice every day. Have you ever tackled anybody? No. You tackle nothing. You might be able to tackle the water boy. That'll be about all you're tackling. Get out of the way. Just run by them like the guy in the Dave Chappelle skit that used to do this. In the background. That's what you do. Just enough time to get somebody else to come over and tackle the motherfucker. But that's not your job. And sure enough, you got hurt.
Oh, yeah. Got hurt. Then you play the backup kicker. Then the other side plays the backup kicker, too, which is just crazy. It was a whole game full of backup kickers, and you were like, okay, who's going to miss?
And speaking of that game particularly, and I was talking to my brother yesterday. He was in town and stopped by. And while watching the game, I said, no matter what, even with San Francisco being depleted, they've had a lot of injuries, and that was first excuse every San Francisco fan. I hate San Francisco, by the way, and always have, because I'm a Bears fan from the 80s, and they crushed our dreams a couple of times. I hate the team forever, for life. How is it that they lose at home to the Cardinals when they, even with the injuries, they have the superior team?
Yes.
And Kyler Murray, whatever, give him all the credit.
Yep.
But he's erratic. He plays well and he plays poorly, and he plays well and he plays poorly.
Erratic, and I mean, I'm sorry to say, the Cardinals are not an organization built to, sustain wins. It just doesn't happen in that whole area over there. They've got, 1 year it'll be a horrible defense, another year it's a horrible O-line. Usually it's a horrible O-line consistently, which is just crazy over there.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's not a team that should be beating someone as vaunted as the 49ers and the way they built their organization and team. You would think even backups for the 49ers are still going to be solid, right?
Right.
In this case,
that's the difference. They got a solid team.
You're seeing Swiss cheese all over the field right now. Jordan Mason did shit yesterday. Purdy couldn't get the ball if his life depended on it. I mean, it was just sad to watch. And where's Brandon Ayuk? The man's gotten paid.
I swear, I thought he got the ball thrown to him one time.
Yep.
It's just right now they're in disarray, and I don't know what their record is, but is it 1-4?
No, they're actually
2-3.
They're actually 2-3, surprisingly. Which, I mean, that doesn't end their season, but at the same time, it's like this is the 49ers who were set second or third favorite to win the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
If not the first favorite. I don't think the Chiefs were the first favorite.
If not the first, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, okay. And now you've got holes everywhere. You got it. I mean, the Debo injury is like an annual event. We know that.
Same with Kittle.
Is an annual event. But the
same with McCaffrey. Yeah.
Kittle can't carry the team,
And Purdy is mortal. As well as he looked during his rookie campaign, coming out of nowhere and playing, high level of football.
Yeah, he was in the cornfields and hidden for a while. Now he's out of the cornfields. He's exposed. Let's put it,
You know what? He should have just stayed off the commercial wagon. See, as soon as he got on those commercials, all of a sudden, ask Will, what's his name, from Tennessee Titans, about that mayonnaise commercial and how that's helped him since he did that commercial.
That boy bad.
and not bad meaning good.
Bad, horrible. Yeah.
So that was surprising yesterday. Jacksonville got off, they weren't on the side, but I thought Indianapolis should have won that game. I think they let Jacksonville do more than I feel like Jacksonville is capable of. Shout
out Joey Flacco again. I mean, come on. The dude just throws up 30 points like it's no tomorrow every game.
That's incredible that you still have this guy. I know that, he probably still thinking, man, I still got to finish the garage and do some stuff like that. Football's getting in my way. But gosh, to have a guy that old and basically been removed from really playing football. Yeah, he comes in like, the Band-Aid when a team needs it. But guy's balling.
The guy's balling, and he's just, sustaining age 30, whatever, 9, 8, whatever the hell he is these days. I mean, hey, you know what? He's probably the best, oldest quarterback in the NFL right now.
And that's a great segue to, has Rodgers
done?
But I feel like, did he pull off the greatest fake in the history of the NFL? The Jets were clamoring for him. The Jets changed their whole team, brought guys onto their team, brought an offensive coordinator, did all of these things for Rodgers. Then he didn't play last year at all. And here he is this year. How much better is he looking? Is it the offensive line or is it Rodgers?
He had the entire Jets on their knees along with the organization ready to bow down and do whatever, Diddy style. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, it was next level. The $70 million? I mean, my God. And you're getting the production of $2 million, if that, right now. I mean, I'm sorry, but supposedly, if this guy is supposedly known as one of the best quarterbacks in history, I've never bought into it. I will be the first and the last to say it over and over. I've never bought into this guy's hype. I'm sorry, one title to show for it. He's in Packerland. I get that he gets the whole stigma of, oh, he's only one of 3 quarterbacks in the history of that organization. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
Yep.
The dude, and yeah, he's put up miles. He's put up yardage. He's put up touchdowns. I could say that for Phil Rivers. I could say that for Eli Manning. I could say that for a million other quarterbacks that they've done the job. Hell, Vinny Testaverde probably put up just a similar mark.
I don't know about that, but I feel what you're saying.
I bet you one Vinny the Jets better than this version of the Jets. I'll tell you that.
That's true. That's true. Even Mark, I can't miss the Booty Sanchez.
Sanchez is better than this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like this is uncalled for. It's a travesty in the NFL. But you know what? It's Woody Johnson's fault. That's all I can say to that.
I don't disagree.
You bought damaged goods, and you should have known what you were buying at the end of the day.
Well, and that's the thing. They put all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket like he was the second coming of Jesus. And I'm sorry, he looks really mortal to me right now. And if he's got to run for his life, he's not going to last much longer.
No, not in any fashion. I mean, the sad part is, okay, I get Rodgers may not be getting on page with his receivers. Brees Hall didn't do shit that game.
Yeah, what happened? He's supposed to be the man. What happened? Was it because I didn't see the game? I didn't see the game or see enough of it, and it screwed me because I actually traded to get Minnesota's defense, and I forgot that they were playing early, so I didn't even put them in on my fantasy team, and I'm in danger of losing. And Minnesota put up like 20 points. The defense did, but I didn't see the game. But did they not run Brees Hall a lot? Or was Minnesota stopping the run? What was that?
I mean, all I saw was 6 carries, 26 yards. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell were you thinking? Like,
so explain to me, though. Okay, so 6 carries, 26 yards. Now, I know when the game gets out of hand, you abandon the run because you're trying to pass and not eat up clock. But 6 carries, 26 yards is still 4-point-something average.
You have one of the
good enough to keep running?
You have supposedly one of the best performing backs in the league at top 5, if not top 10. You use what you got in terms of weapon use. And like we just talked about at the beginning of the call, like you were like, hey, okay, if a team is just going to stay with the pass, it's going to pass 3 times in a row. Well, you tell me you abandon the run that quickly on a team that relies on the run, and especially from a coach that's supposedly defensive-minded and likes to run the ball. Like, there's something not jiving between coaching, players, and everything else going on in the Jets organization where they need to blow up something, honestly. It's either the player or
Aaron Rodgers. Okay, it was a 2-year experiment. We failed. We now gave up draft picks. We gave up positioning, and it all started because we drafted Wilson.
Right, and that's another guy. Like this guy was a phenomenon. I mean, he was great, and he played with shitty quarterbacks and proved that he is a great receiver. Don't get me wrong.
No, not Garrett Wilson. I'm talking about Zach Wilson. It all started with them having him as a high pick and seeing that he actually was nothing. But I'm starting to think Aaron Rodgers scored 9 points one game. How much did they score yesterday?
Like 8 or 20, something like that. It was nothing.
Yeah. So was it Zach Wilson or was it more than that? Was it the front line? Is it play calling? Because I'm unlike you. I don't disagree that Rodgers has been overhyped. Plus, he thinks he's the smartest person in every room he's in, which is always a problem. That's always a problem.
Ego's the issue, yeah.
But the guy's got skills. We've seen him drop dimes all over the place throughout his career.
I stand corrected on Brees Hall. 9 carries, 23 yards. So sorry.
Okay, that was a lower, less than 3 yards per carry. But still, 9 carries, that's when unless you're losing by double digits all game long, it should never be that your running game is 9 carries. Your best back, one of the best backs in the league, got the ball 9 times. Ask Baltimore when they started doing better, when they started getting Henry involved.
Henry.
Even yesterday, as soon as they got him involved, because they didn't run the ball to him, they were using number 43. Can't think of his name right now. No. That's the tight end.
You're talking about the guy. Yeah.
It's the backup running back. They were using him because they use him in passing situations. And it was somewhat effective. But King Henry, I'll give him the ball 6 times in a row. Don't run him 6 times right in the middle.
Yeah.
Do some variations, but the guy is going to break a tackle.
He's
He's going to stiff arm somebody into the ground. That's just what he does.
That's how Brees Hall is. Like, he's going to break one. Like, the kid's fast and he's powerful, so he'll get through and he'll break one. So that's the thing. Like, you keep riding those types of trains.
Keep doing it.
Murray for years in different places, both Dallas and Tennessee, and it worked. I mean, it's like I don't get it. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers' stat line yesterday: 29 of 54 for 244 and 3 picks.
3 picks, 244. Again, why are they throwing the ball 50 times? Didn't Jets what and it didn't they do the same thing last week
against the decent secondary?
And they did that last week. Why are they passing the ball 50 times every game? They got the wrong mix of, I'd rather have them run the ball more than pass the way it's looking. And again, I think I don't know who's running the team. Is it Saleh or is it Rodgers?
Or is it Hackett?
Or is it Hackett?
Well, and if it's Hackett, here's the funny part. Hackett, he was with Rodgers in Green Bay toward the tail end, so not as great. He was with Russell Wilson at the end of his tail end at Seattle, which that was shitty. And now you're at the tail end of another career back with Rodgers. This dude's a cancer, in my opinion, at this point. You failed on 3 different accounts with 3 different situations. I'm sorry, but I think it's Nate Hackett. And granted, Nate Hackett is the hand-picked person from Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers and Nate Hackett, I think that's what's really killing you. And I mean, obviously, they're not on the same page as Saleh. I think that's very evident to everyone that's out there. And that's a whole different matter. But at the end of the day, Saleh is also supposed to be a defensive coach. Where the hell is your defense, dude?
What happened to the Jets defense?
They're supposed to be stellar, and they can't be
all that.
Yeah,
you can't tell me it's because of the one guy holding out.
Yeah, it's not the one guy holding out.
You can't tell me it's Riddick's fault. You can't say that.
Yeah. And Sauce ain't Sauce right now, which is crazy.
Sauce, man, he ain't even ketchup.
No, he ain't ketchup. He ain't even a condiment on Revis Island right now. Shit.
It's pretty pathetic there. And, talk about a place you don't want to be pathetic. Any New York team, you better bring your game. You can't come up like the 19, or the 2000 Knicks. You can't do that. You got to actually be able to play some ball. And they're not balling. And they've spent a lot of money, and they basically sacrificed a lot of things to appease Rodgers, and it ain't working out.
Dare I say, I mean, both New York franchises were supposed to be bad this year, and frankly, the Jets are turning out worse than they should have been. Are the Giants the better team in New York right now? Shoot.
I mean, how many people picked the Giants to win yesterday?
Hell no.
I mean, think about that. So, I mean, I give the Giants credit for beating the Seahawks, who everybody was picking the Seahawks to win that game.
You give the Giants another year. That defense is something. Now, their offense is anemic. Don't get me wrong. And the offense is going to be hurt for a while just because of the whole Saquon thing and everything else. They're going to have to rebuild, trust in the quarterback, wide receiver.
They got 2 good receivers, though. They got Robinson and they got Neighbors. Those guys can ball.
So they need a quarterback.
I don't believe in Daniel. Sorry, he sucks.
Yeah, they need a quarterback and they need a running back. And maybe that's in the draft. And honestly, they could turn into a contender in the East in the next year or two, I think. They can be okay because frankly, Dallas declined. We know that. Philly can't figure out what the hell's going on over there, and we'll find out next week again since they're on the bye week.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I'll tell you what, those Commanders, boom, 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 they're coming up.
So, you know what's so funny about this? So I was just looking through the schedule of games. Hey, Bears,
this weekend, by the way.
What's that?
Weekend, by the way, Ravens Commanders right here.
That would be a hell of a game. Yeah. And if you look at it, nobody even gave Washington a chance. I'm sure they were finished last in their division or second to last because the Giants do finish last.
And Campbell, baby.
And look at the teams that, Dallas and Philly that everybody touted as being playoff contenders and Super Bowl contenders, blah, blah, blah. Washington looks like they're going to win that division.
We might be looking at an MVP candidate in Jaden Daniels.
I would love to see it.
Would love to see it. I'd love to see some bit of redemption coming back to that organization. Now they got new ownership and new everything else. Yeah, I mean, the Robert Griffin rookie year was unbelievable. We know that. And
this
for that
is going to be better.
Quarterback, not just a black quarterback, but a quarterback in Washington, that'd be pretty cool. I'm telling you.
This could be and honestly, Dan Snyder, you ruined this franchise for a long time.
Oh,
This is how you look when you don't have an owner doing the things you did, Dan Snyder.
Owners beware. Dan Snyder, you got exiled. Woody Johnson, you're probably next. You know, these guys just don't know how to manage a franchise at the end of the day. And then Jerry Jones, as we know, it's Jerry Jones. He's never going to give up.
The sad thing about Jerry Jones is, and all of these other owners, is that the value of their franchises continues to grow despite how they're running the team.
Well, and when you're the loudest in the room, you're still going to get hit media headlines, right? Remember, no press is bad press, right? That whole philosophy. So at the end of the day, you put that star anywhere, people recognize it. Doesn't matter if you appear in Beirut or anywhere else in the world. It's going to be, you're going to notice that star and you'll be like, oh, that's the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but you know what? They got to get rid of that moniker of America's team. They haven't been America's team in a long, long time.
They haven't been America's team since Emmett, Troy, and Michael were there.
Exactly. That's a long time. That's 30 years, 20 plus years.
I think you and I said, well, I think I said this before. I think somebody else brought it up on the media. The moon landing in the United States is closer in time to when the Cowboys won a title.
You said that, yeah. Isn't that incredible? I mean, well, and this is the problem when you are so prevalent in NFL discussions, whether it's off season, on season, it's always Dallas, 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 Dallas. You have to show up. You actually have to do something. I'm going all in. All in on what? Like a burger at McDonald's? Get out of here, man. You didn't do a damn thing the whole playoff or the whole off season. You paid your guys late, which made you pay them more money than less. You didn't pick up Derrick Henry when you had a chance. They got lucky and they won a game last night, but that was not pretty.
See, and I didn't. So one thing I didn't like yesterday in the post game for the Ravens is they asked Derrick Henry. It's like, oh well, we know that Dallas was going after you in the offseason. I'm like, don't even ask that question anymore. Take it out of the media and quit asking the dumb question. Because even Derrick Henry, like, I don't care. I'm a Raven. I'm going to move forward. And I'm sorry. Why do we keep making the Dallas Cowboys relevant? If they're not going to prove it on the field, if they're not going to prove it on the field, to me, they're nothing different than a Jacksonville Jaguars. You ain't one
disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. They're just high profile, but honestly, they're a lot of swag, but they don't have any real substance to what they do. Their defense was great for half a year, and they were horrible for half a year. That Dak has been the only constant. The dude is balling out. The dude is in the top 3 of quarterbacks in just about every category at the end of the season, every year.
Let's take note of this. The last time the Cowboys were in the NFC Championship game was what year? And the reason I say that is because my Jacksonville comment. Jacksonville's been in the AFC Championship game twice since the last time the Cowboys were in one on the NFC.
I believe that. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten enough revenue. We got to get some more viewers so we can get a real himbo. Because it's hard for us to get here and try to do our phones while we're on live. But
that or an AI bot or something over here.
Yeah, exactly.
But think about that for a second. Why do we give relevance and credence? Yes, I get their big hype and all that, and their owner is all brashy. But you know what? They ain't done shit on the field, and that's what we should be recognizing. That's as simple as that.
That's correct. Because at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses. And when you get to a certain level, it isn't just about wins and losses. It's about making the playoffs and making a deep run. And Dallas hasn't done that since forever. So we shouldn't talk about them like they're anything more than a mediocre team.
Now, speaking of on the field, how about them Broncos? Seriously. I mean, as a Chiefs fan, I'm like, holy shit, we might have some competition in the division.
Well, there used to be this commercial, Bo Ricks. I think it was haircuts. Yeah. Well, Bo Nix, because the dude they're playing. And honestly, nobody picked them to do anything. And Sean Payton's whipping these guys up. And I tell you what, they got the defense. But they're putting up points. I mean,
John Payton doesn't get enough credit as how good a coach he was. I mean, he had talent, obviously, in New Orleans. I get that. He had Kamara, he had Breeze, he had a whole nine there. But it was the culture that he brought down there. That's what really won them that title, I think, when they did.
I would agree.
And he gets knocked back for that whole bounty gate, all that. But you know what? He made his players hungry. I'll tell you what. And he might be doing the same with the Broncos. Not the whole bounty gate thing, but he's making his players hungry to want to win.
Yeah, I don't believe in the bounty gate. You're not trying to hurt people, like on purpose. I mean, you play with in a reckless abandon, and the idea is I'm going to inflict some pain, but you don't go out and say I'm trying to hurt a guy. That's messed up. But I do agree that he's got that team running. And sorry, Russell Wilson, just to have put a note out there. Did you notice that Denver looks way better now that Russell's gone?
100 times better.
Did you notice that yesterday when Pittsburgh was when Justin Fields got smashed on that one play, who did they put in?
Yeah, no kidding.
I didn't even know who that guy was. They put in a guy, Russell Wilson. He turned around and walked towards the benches. That's Russell. I think your career is over.
He's there merely as a $2 million stopgap in the event that they need a third tree out there. That's really honestly about it.
Well, and I, like
the Denver's on the hook for it,
Well, that's true. And I always feel like the teams that are best prepared, and you've seen it, whether it was Green Bay and how they've transitioned over 30 decades of just having 3 quarterbacks. I'm sorry, 3 decades with just having 3 quarterbacks. They had a mentor while the quarterback in waiting was learning. Russell Wilson isn't that. And I don't think he's ever been that for any quarterback. I mean, Geno, you're looking great, but I bet you wouldn't say it was because of Russell Wilson.
Hell no. Geno was built of a different pedigree, in my opinion. The kid had talent coming out of college. He's a well-built man on his own. There's no question about that to me. What Russell Wilson couldn't mentor a tree. Like, he couldn't do anything. The dude was a journeyman in college. He got stuck with the right elements in Seattle, in my opinion, to win a title. And he had some good seasons. He had great receivers, great coaching, great defense, to say the least. So he had all the pieces around him. And he had this guy named Marshawn in the back who's scary as hell. It was awesome. Right?
Well, they would one more championship if
they just handed off the damn ball. And
the guy just ran the ball like 50 yards, get you to the 2-yard line. You know what? I want the glory. Let me show how clever I am by passing the ball on the 2-yard line. Good job.
Oh, I'll get to that one in a second because there was some good college football too to talk about too. But yeah, no. So I mean, like I said, I think he was in a good circumstance to become the person that he is and the reputation that he's got. We're clearly seeing dude ain't got a lick of leadership ability in it. Obviously, you go over to a franchise. John Elway brings you over to the Broncos. You're supposed to kind of lead the way and hopefully lead a resurrection. You bring in a great coach like Sean Payton, and you still fuck it up. Now you're going to arguably what I consider to be one of the best coaches of our generation. And he can't even probably respect you to put on the field. I mean,
it just makes you wonder.
Yep.
But yeah, there was again great games. I don't want to get stuck on Russell because Russell, you suck, Russell. We talked about the Ravens and Bengals. We talked about the Broncos. Broncos look really good. What are they now? 3-1, 3 or 4-1? Go ahead, Broncos. Nobody would have even thought they would be at that position. Matter of fact, no other team in that division would be at that position besides Kansas City.
Everybody thought, okay, maybe the Chargers will resurrect themselves because they got a good quarterback. They got the coach. They're kind of rebuilding the offense a little bit. They got the defense. So maybe they'll still come back, maybe figure out the system over there. But right now it's looking like KC and Denver might be the 1-2 in the division. We'll find out after tonight, too, and provided the Chiefs don't choke.
In the division, I'm going to go as far as saying in the whole conference.
So you know what? The AFC, okay, so let's break this down. You got the East, and it's in shambles because Miami's crushed. Patriots rebuilding. The Bills are a playoff team, probably, but honestly, they're not looking like it after these last 2 games, that's for sure. And, the Jets are the Jets. We know that they're going to fall apart at this point. They're a sinking ship. So that's the East. Let's go into the South. The South, to me, is intriguing because you've got Indianapolis and Houston, I think, are the 1-2.
Me too.
Could Jacksonville resurrect their season? Possibly.
They can run a few off.
Possibly. So it'll be an interesting 3-way race there. And then you look at the North. Now, the North is nasty. You got the Ravens. The Bengals can obviously put up numbers, but they got to figure out what the heck's going on.
They're 1-4. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, the Browns are now in utter disgrace, and they need to figure out a way to get rid of Deshaun, massage parlor boy.
Talk about the cancer. That's the cancer. Somebody needs to just trick him and say, hey, let's go to a massage parlor. And then everybody leaves, has a camera on him while he does his normal thing.
Send him to a giddy party. Something like, get rid of this guy. You know?
The guy sucks. He
Yes.
just thoroughly sucks.
Thoroughly sucks. So that's going to kill you there. And then, of course, you've got Pittsburgh, which, I think they're still there. I think Pittsburgh's still a viable candidate to get in the playoffs. But like you said, if we're looking at the AFC picture in the playoffs right now, Denver is not Denver is no less than a top 4 team in the AFC
right now. And if you think about it, especially with the way the North, because the North is that division where you could say all 4 teams could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
However, the way they're looking right now, and they still got to beat each other up. I mean, Cincinnati's barely hanging on right now. If Pittsburgh goes into a swoon, they've lost 2 in a row now. Baltimore, I think, is the steadiest of all of the teams, and the Browns are in shambles. So they could end up having only 1 team that comes out of that division, maybe 2.
They'll beat up each other.
Yeah, and the rest of the divisions, as you just said, aren't really putting up anything. So that leaves the West. I could see Denver, if they don't fall off and they're able to, win 10 games this season, they're going to make the playoffs.
That secondary is brutal. I mean, people don't give it enough credit. Pat Surtain obviously had that run back yesterday, which was great. But I'm telling you what, that secondary is going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, they look good.
If Denver could get a run defense, let me tell you, that defense is stout.
Yes, they are
going there. There's no
and
question.
they've shown it now. Ask Tampa Bay how they felt about getting sacked 8 times.
Sir.
Ask Bay. Why am I forgetting his name? But again, Mayfield.
Yeah,
but you can have a team like Denver be a surprise. I don't know if they're a surprise anymore, but everybody wrote them off. Now they can't write them off. It's the same with Minnesota. People are saying, well, is Minnesota for real? Yeah, they're for real.
They're for real.
They're for real. They're playing with reckless abandon. Their defense is so wacky that quarterbacks are having a hard time reading what they're truly in versus what they're lined up as. So, I think they're going to make it. Hey, what about Green Bay Packers? Let's talk about Green Bay. Minnesota Dogs, Jets. What happened? Green Bay looked shaky yesterday.
I'll call it a resurrection. I mean, Jordan Love came back, so they're getting back in their stride. I think their problem is probably health. Honestly, they got to get healthy and they got to get their receivers on the right page. And obviously, that comes with reps. I think they just need to get more reps on that offense, and that offense will definitely start clicking. My suspect thing with the Green Bay Packers is the defense. That's all. It always will be. I don't have, they don't have the star power on the defense. Can they scheme? Can they figure out a way to win games? That's really going to be up to what they have to do. I think especially survive that division again, because Vikings, Bears, Lions, oh my, that's a scary division. If we just talked about the AFC North, the NFC North is badass.
At this point, the NFC North is. No one thought the Bears would be where they are, but everybody thought that Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Minnesota was the wild card, but they're obviously the best of the bunch right now. And if you look across the NFC landscape, the East is in shambles, just like the AFC East is in shambles, except for Washington. The South, I think Atlanta's still going to be the best out of those teams.
You know what? The Dirty South's going to be interesting between New Orleans, Atlanta, and Tampa. I think you could see all 3 potentially. I mean, again, the Saints got to kind of show me something else, but Tampa and Atlanta, I like those 2.
I do too, and I think that what you just said is real. If we're saying in the AFC, the possibility of having 2 teams from the West and probably 2 teams from either the North or the South, I would think the same, and even more so in the NFC North, that they could get 3 teams there.
Oh yeah,
easily.
Absolutely.
And you could get 2 teams from the South, if not 3, and then in the East and the West, they're just going to get 1 team right now. Yeah, San Francisco better do something and start knocking off some wins, which they can do. But if they don't, then you're just looking at Seattle, because the other 2 teams look like crap. The East Coast, you got nothing at Dallas, you got nothing at Philly, you got nothing in the Giants, and you got Washington looking damn good.
Imagine that playoff picture. No seeds in particular. We're thinking about 3 teams out of the North. Think about, let's say, ATL and Tampa out of the South, Washington out of the East, and Seattle out of the West. How bizarre. Who would have predicted it?
I mean, Yeah, that would look pretty funny, given the preseason picks.
And granted, it can't happen this way where Minnesota and Detroit are a 1-2 just because of seeding, but those would be your two best teams, and then everybody else, man.
That would be strange. That would be strange. Speaking of picks, what do we have last week? And let's put up our picks to see what we looked at. You took them down, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go down the slate here and start from the top. So we have the Thursday night game, which was where's how they go?
That was Tampa Bay Falcons. I had.
So you got that one. I didn't get that one. I had Tampa. You had Atlanta.
All right.
That was that. All right. So then let's go down the docket here. So starting with Jets Vikings. I think I took Vikings. You took Vikings. I think that was a gimme on both ends.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Ravens Bengals. I went Ravens. I think you went Ravens as well.
I can't remember. I thought you said you shot them down. All
right. Went Ravens on that one. Colts Jags. I believe I went Colts. I think you went Colts as well on that one. Yep. Dolphins Patriots. You know what? I actually went Patriots on that one and lost.
I take the Dolphins.
Yeah, you took the Dolphins.
I was betting against the Patriots because they suck.
Yep. Commanders Browns. I think both of us took Commanders on that one. Let's see. Texans and Bills. Let's see. I went Texans. You went Texans. Bears Panthers. That was the gimme. Broncos Raiders. I believe both of us took Broncos there. Niners Cardinals. I know we were picking a close game. I think both of us took the Niners, and obviously the Cardinals won. So we took.
That was an upset, to say the least.
Both there. Packers Rams. Both of us took Packers on that one. Giants Seahawks. Both of us took Seahawks and lost that one.
Both of us took Seahawks. Got smashed on that one. Kudos to the Giants for playing a complete game, and that game saving, because they were basically kicking the field goal right to tie the game. And the guy jumped over in between the little slot that they have between the center and the left guard and literally went through them and blocked the shot. Go ahead, number 19. Kudos to you.
And then Cowboys Steelers. Let's see. What did we pick on? I'm looking at this here. We both took Cowboys.
I had the Cowboys in my other pool too. Yeah. So not bad week.
Not too bad.
I think I got you by a couple.
Yeah, you got me a couple. Yeah, and the main one was that Thursday nighter. Definitely, that was the breaking point.
Yeah, and I know what we both have. You know what we both have tonight. What we both have tonight, baby.
That's the obvious one. We'll go in with probably the picks for next week, probably later this week, if anything.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to touch on. I don't know if you will caught a little college football on Saturday.
Not a big college guy, to be honest. I'll follow it. The fact that Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. Who?
So, with the NIL, SEC football, and everything else, I mean, like, I'll pay attention, what I can in college football. It's not my priority for the weekend, but I'll watch it wherever I can. Now, it's interesting. You had some huge upsets up and down the SEC. Vandy obviously being the biggest one. Tennessee lost, which was crazy. I mean, Tennessee, they were number 4 in the country. So Alabama, so 1 and 4 went down last week.
Wow.
Yep. And then Miami and Cal played out west in the night game, which was the feature game on ESPN. And a lot of people were picking a Cal upset because that's the new ACC now that we're playing coast to coast and all that shit. So Miami pulls it out in the end in that game, which was pretty cool to watch too at the very end.
Yeah, they were down like 38-10 or something like that.
Right? They got a really special quarterback there. I forget his name off the top of
that's the Heisman. Him and the Travis Hunter from Colorado.
Yes, they got some top flight kids there, so that'll be interesting. But SEC football on any given Sunday is just cool to watch because they just got so much fandom and craziness going down there. It's truly a spectacle, and I'm not surprised some of those upsets happened. But that Vanderbilt one, that might go down in history. Honestly, I'm sorry, but academic college school from Nashville shouldn't be beating all those crazy people from Alabama.
No, not unless it's an engineering contest or something. Exactly. Come on, dude.
Robotics lab, STEM lab, some shit.
Yeah. The funny thing about that, and actually, I had a conversation about that because there've been some concerns over the rushing the field. I think it's a little different in football because you got more space than basketball, but both of those came up yesterday. And I do think that there could be that's a hazard for the players, especially those on the other team. But even the home team players, when they get into that frenzy, they go to get that field goal post. You got to run for your life.
I'm for the tradition. However, if there is any possible way to push it off by even 5 minutes, meaning the end of the game's coming. If it's an upset win, all these students are packing up on the sidelines everywhere else near the gates, and they're trying to come it down and jump it off. If there's any possible way to hold it off for 5 minutes to get the away team or the losing team off the field or off on the side, I am still 100% for it, because that's really the safety factor.
It's supposed to be about the safety of the players, right? They did the playing, get them off the field.
I'm all for the time-honored tradition of rushing the court and rushing the field. I think it's great. I think it's
celebrated, as long as nobody's getting trampled, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, the harm factor is what needs to be mitigated. So if there's even a 5-minute window we could buy in that, I wish it could be done. Like, if it means getting more security, whatever, I get there's cost to that. But I'm sorry, these schools are already paying penalties. Let it fly, They're already charging enough for tuition. Let it fly.
I think it's going to be hard. You know how things sort of ramp up, right? Your team is about to win. The time is ticking off the clock. You're not going to wait 5 minutes before you hit the field.
Granted, I'm probably going to take shit for this, but that bum rush by the Vandy fans was the most pathetic field rush I've ever seen in my life, because it was literally only 20% of the crowd was there for the their student section was outnumbered by the Bama fans. It was sad to watch. Now, conversely, if you watch the Tennessee game and the opposite team, they killed it. The entire place. Arkansas was lit.
Arkansas. Yeah.
Every Walmart in the country bull rushed that place.
That's funny. My mother mentioned that yesterday. She also came by with my brother, and she mentioned that Arkansas upset a big time team. She didn't say which one, and that they rushed the field and it was crazy. You know what I think was crazy about Vanderbilt though is that I don't know that from a geographical sense, like where the field is to downtown Nashville, but they said they took the goalpost. They show up. It looked like a bunch of ants carrying like a piece of bread, right? They're just all going down the street and downtown Nashville. That was hilarious.
They do that at Kansas because we're so close to the river there. They'll take the goalpost. They'll walk exactly about 8 blocks. I want to say about 8-9 blocks. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You might have rushed the field pathetically based on my partner's.
There wasn't enough manpower out there. It was pathetic. Let's put it this way. When they rushed the field, they could cover the green. They couldn't even cover the end zone. Like, that's how pathetic it was. Like, you go to Arkansas, they were parking out to the crowds. Like, that's.
But they were at home too, though, right?
They were.
So was Vandy. Vandy was at home too. But Vandy.
Yeah. Like I said,
Vandy football, right?
I mean, I joke about it, Tom. Having spent a lot of time in Nashville when I was a kid, like, it's a great town. I'm glad it's got a little bit of flavor, meaning like Vandy's located in downtown. Their football stadium is downtown. So it's one of those different environments compared to, say, like a small town college feel that you get everywhere else in the country.
Yep.
Where when you get 70,000 to 80,000 fans, like, it's the town. Like, it's the entire thing. So it's a different vibe there. But at the same time, like, there's no loyalty to Vandy because the rest of the state still cheers for Tennessee. Let's face facts. They'll Tennessee, Memphis, any other school in the state, basically.
Yeah, Vandy's not pulling Right.
Yeah, so
agreed.
The state of Tennessee as a whole was in depression. Let's put it that way. When it came to all that. But no, it's like college football was it takes a few weeks for me to really get engaged until the season starts. So now we're about 4 or 5 weeks in. We're starting to see some trends of some better teams and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of for the new playoff format of having the 12 teams and stuff like that this year. So I think that'll be kind of cool. I don't like that there's only one conference that literally dominates all of football, which is the SEC.
I mean, decidedly so. Like, they dominate football.
Oh, easily. And it's ridiculous. So, I mean, that's where I'm like, I wish it was a little bit more national. And that was the intent of this whole, hey, let's go buy every team in the country and bring them to our conference or whatever. And now the Big Ten is literally coast to coast. But I'm sorry, are you staying up for Rutgers versus UCLA?
Hell no.
See, and shit like that. Now, this weekend is a great matchup. You got Oregon and Ohio State.
Yeah, 2 versus 3.
That's going to be bad.
Gonna drop.
Yeah.
This was the perfect year above all these other years for it to have that extra whatever many teams that are making it to the playoffs, because the way it's shaking out right now, I don't know who's undefeated. I'm not even sure if there is an undefeated team.
Now, I'm anti-Texas under any other regimen, but Texas football I'll support because they're new to the SEC, and I want them to upend the whole place.
Well, if they're the only undefeated team, they are upending the place just on that alone. Yep. I was shocked to see so many teams go down, and quite frankly, I mean, you got teams like LSU that's ranked 13th. They might actually have a chance of getting in.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, the contendership goes up, which is going to be interesting under this new 12-team format. What I'm curious to see, and this is the criticism we had, I think, 2-3 weeks ago when we were talking about college sports in general and where did academia go?
Right.
These kids are going to play playoff games now, basically, throughout the month of December during finals for most us college kids, by the way.
Always wondered that,
right?
all forever.
Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, these kids are going to be playing 4 or 5 games essentially every weekend for the playoff period, right? For these better teams. How the hell do you get schooling done? Do you even go to school for academics anymore? Or are you literally just going there for the sports? But remember, only 1% of 1% is only going to make this.
That's right. 1.6%.
Yeah. So,
but you see where we are. Okay, the colleges themselves, let's just be real about this. If you looked at just the tuition alone, most of these schools, heck, my daughter's going in, 20,000 plus at a small time school.
Yeah.
Big time schools, 40 plus.
State schools used to be in the single digit thousands back when I was a kid. Now they're in the double digit thousands, if not higher. It's scary.
With the state school, I'm paying over $20K for this. Stupid. It's crazy. And they could make money off just that. But they make their money off of their sports teams and mostly and mainly the football team. Now, granted, some teams, depending on who you are, Duke's basketball is probably making more than Duke's football. But those are the two main sports that are bringing in that. But that revenue is in the billions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's more than billions. It's hundreds of billions. It's scary.
So you see
when schools were so this year there was an NCAA ruling that came out, and all these schools had to pay penalties right around every conference, and different conferences were settling with not just the NCAA but with a lot of private things to settle it up.
Yes, and those are millions to hundreds of millions of dollars.
So the overall settlements were in the billions for the conference. Each school was able to sustain $250 million each in hits in the Big 12 because they were the first one to settle. Right, and then the Big 10 came and everybody else settled, and they probably had to settle for even more because they were the first versus second, whatever. Every school in the Big 12 had to pay a $250 million penalty as part of that settlement figure that had to be put forward.
Where does that money go?
So supposedly it's supposed to go to a pool that's supposed to trickle down to supposed to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hate that trickle down. That shit never happens.
But think about it this way: if every school has the ability to just freely write a check, it's $250 million. Here you go. We'll send that along the way, and we'll consider this matter done. If they're able to do that, think about how much effing money is floating around in college right now. I mean, and now I'll put this in the context of Kansas because I'm familiar with what's going on. Kansas just promised that they're spending close to about $500 million in upgrades for football, basketball, the whole 9 yards in terms of all of their facilities and everything else. The Big 10 has done that over the last 10 years because they had their academic money and everything else come in the last 10 years. If you drive around at any Big 10 campus in the country, I don't care where you are, all the way from Nebraska to Rutgers, wherever, multi-million-dollar renovations to academic, sports, the whole 9 yards. Their campuses have nothing but cranes on them. It's wild. And the money just flowing with construction costs. If Kansas is able to sustain a $500 million improvement renovation for this and write a $250 million check separately and still sustain the same timeline, think about that's Kansas. I'm sorry, but we are a small town still.
Think about that. 500 million and 250 million.
Yeah.
That's $1 billion. That's $750 million.
Yeah. And that's just willy-nilly. So think about how much money is floating around.
Something's wrong here. And yes, they have the NIL and everything, but the college athletics is built on these kids. But the ones that are raking in the funds are the owners, are the schools. Some people might say the plantation,
And that's the thing. If you talk to some of the academics that work in some of this place, it's not like they're seeing like 6-digit raises or some shit like that for teachers. No chance. It's all going to the administrators and the provosts and the the boosters and all that other crap that's way up here, and not your academic personnel who are teaching down here. And
the ones doing the work. Yep.
Even the tenured professors aren't getting paid. It's crazy. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, the money is outrageous in college. I
just have a problem with that, because college is supposed to be the institutions that, well, at least in my mind, should be help raising the next generation of our leaders.
Yep.
The ones who are going to be setting policy in our government, the ones who are going to be building out these multi-billion-dollar corporations that are going to help advance technology and everything else. But that doesn't seem to be their focus. Yes, they do that. But you know what they're doing it on? They're doing it on the backs of kids that will not even benefit from having a degree from that college. Many of them will. Some will. Some will be able to use them, but many will not.
So you still have all this money coming in from, NIL and all these other crazy things into these, what we call public schools, the big conferences, the big schools. The Ivies still generate more money. How scary is that? Think about that alumni consortium, man. Isn't that frightening?
It is frightening. And people are still putting their names on these buildings too. You got which, you know what? I feel sorry for anyone who suffers from Parkinson's or any other type of mentally debilitating disease. But Brett Favre tried to scam a whole town and take the whole pensions and do all of this stuff just so that he could put his name on a building where his daughter was going to school.
Yep. He stole $60 million of public money. Public money in a state that's already underserved in Mississippi from a Medicaid population for his own greed and wealth.
Having issues with that. Having issues with these old-time institutions that have been set up with and don't get me wrong, the mechanism and process, kudos to you guys for setting this up hundreds of years ago. Kudos, because it still works. It still works. You're still making a ton of money and all of that. But come on, let's be real. If we're really talking about this is what's wrong, this is why we have so many issues when it comes to the entire nation, is because the few make sure they profit from the many, and the many do not get that trickle down. We helped you make these billions of dollars. Thank you, because we're getting a little something too. That never happens.
Think about that dollar figure that I just said, the $500 million that Kansas is throwing into building improvements for basketball, football, whatever.
Yeah, $250 million for a penalty.
$250 million in a penalty. Think about how many kids that could academically serve. Think about it. I mean, even if you talked about the inflated tuition we talk about these day and age, and obviously it's getting worse and worse, and you're still going to see another price hike next year, another 10%.
That was the one thing people said: healthcare and colleges or universities are the ones that are recession proof. No matter what's happening, no matter where your inflation is, no matter what's going on, those prices keep going up, don't they?
Yep. I'm telling you. And here's the other thing, and I don't want to take a whole political slant on this right now, but in this election cycle, and yes, the economy, I think, is still the foremost thing that people should be talking about, and hopefully people are kind of thinking about when it comes time to vote and everything else. Have we really talked about educational opportunities when it comes to the election? I don't think we have. Like last time in 2000, I think we did, because you had someone like a Jill Biden who advocates, a community school, community college and involvement and stuff like that. This time around, I haven't heard a peep about how to control academic costs at all at any stage, or even offer tech school, community college, anything like that at a subsidized value or anything of that sort, or even try to push more people into higher level academics or opportunities, even for that matter. I've heard yet to hear anything from either side. And you got all this money sitting out there that we're talking about right now. And it makes you wonder, do we even have the capability as a country to even have leaders? Because you're not putting in your resources to it, obviously.
Well, what's going to happen 5-10 years from now when the leadership is changing to these young people? Where they're going to be and how equipped are they going to be? And quite frankly, I've seen this movement or shifting. What does corporate America needs a certain workforce.
Yep.
But if you look at some of these corporations, especially in retail and everything, you don't need to be a genius to be in those positions, and they're not trying to get you to be a genius. They want you to fall in, because I need my hundreds of thousands of McDonald's workers.
Yep.
You don't have to be educated for that, do you?
And I'm sorry, but those hourly jobs that you just mentioned are the first ones that may fall into the victim into the whole automation world.
That's right. Because look at McDonald's now. You go to a kiosk, you have this. All you need is a couple of workers. You don't even need anybody to greet people anymore. You just need them to hand them the food. That's all you need. You know, and the more you see automation, the less you're seeing, whether it's in the auto field where everything is becoming more AI automated. I got a computer that can do 10 times what these 5 people could do. So you got goodbye 5 people. That's what's going on.
Well, again, not to harp the whole political slant, but people talk about, okay, quote unquote, made in America and stuff like that, and trying to make things more hands-on. Well, we no longer do that because we've been outsourcing it for so long. We don't even know how to do it anymore. And got it. If we're going to go ahead and just push that manufacturing or whatever it is out this way, we're left with just the service sector. The service sector is the first one going to be impacted by AI. We all know that collectively. I don't have to preach about it or anything. That's what's happening. And like you just gave the best example. You walk into a restaurant. Do I need a waiter, waitress, someone to take my order?
I put my phone on the code. I look at the code. I get my menu up. They have things at the tables now. You can actually punch in your orders.
No, and the only thing that I need manpower for is literally somebody putting together the actual food. And that's it.
Oh, and by the way, let's just keep this real. And this is part of when you talk about American made. How much does it cost when you have someone from America making that money versus somebody who's an immigrant or coming from wherever who are working in your kitchens? I don't care if you go to Benihana's, look in the kitchen. Are there Japanese people back there? I don't know. You go to any other restaurant. Who's in the kitchen? Who's the bus boys? Who's doing that dirty work? It's not the Americans. Because they don't do those jobs because they feel like it's beneath them and they're not getting paid enough for it.
That's the problem. Yep. And again, that's a product of current society. If you think about it over the last whatever number of years, we've made it think like, oh, that's below you. But you know what? America was built on that.
Hello.
America was 100% built on building things on their own and doing things for themselves.
But back then, you didn't have this disparity in how am I living versus how am I getting paid for the work that I do. So you could bust your butt, but you better have 2 or 3 jobs. You'd be like the Jamaicans on the Old and Living Color. Be like, look, how many jobs you got? Oh, you lazy boy. You only have 3 jobs, because that's what you need today to get by if you're going to be at that level, right? Yep. Which means if you're working those kind of jobs, you're basically working your whole life away and you don't get nothing but sleep and work. But you're barely making it even if you did that.
Well, we're also living in that fun world of FOMO or whatever, right? That everybody talks about. I got to have the same thing as my neighbor, my person next or whatever, or something better.
Keeping up with the Joneses, we used to call it.
And I think that was more relative, say 50 years ago, meaning like keeping up with the Joneses was relative to where you were, right?
Right.
Now it's like, oh, I need to live like I live in, a penthouse in freaking Chicago or something or whatever. Like, and I'm here living in, Schaumburg, in the lowest.
Right. Right. That's true, though. It's true.
Right. So the whole relativity mix has gone bad. And like you just said, like people are unwilling to get dirty. So guess what? Then you won't have a job. Simple.
Well, and that's why I always have this argument. It sounds so, like a contradiction as it's being said. You know what? We don't like those people being here. Okay. Who's doing the landscaping at your
Who's doing all the hard work?
Who's doing the repairs on your house? Who's the one who's going to fix the plumbing? Who's doing these jobs?
Well, and see, that's where I go back to this whole academic thing, like with the election cycle. I'm like, okay, we honestly don't have, and I was talking about, I've been dealing with a lot of contractors lately, and I'm talking to myself, and a lot of these guys are older. They're in their 50s, 60s. They have kids, and a lot of their kids are doing other stuff other than the trade that, their father or their mother, or whoever it is, their contractor person is doing, right? And I'm thinking to myself, and I asked the honest, when I had a good conversation with a few of these guys, I was like, at any point in time, did your kids want to go into the same trade that you are? Because you're in a highly technical trade. Like I was talking to a guy that does just fireplace repair, and it's very niche, to say the least. got to have your gas certification, yada, 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 yada. And he was like, yeah, it's at one point I thought about, because honestly, there's nobody else going in here. I'm like, there's your multi-million-dollar plan, because you'll be the only guy that can repair a fireplace in the future. Or you'll be that plumber that only services this area because no one else is in this area. Or, electrician. I mean, all these fair trades. And if you look at I hate to say it, the price of contracting has gone up sky high in the last 10 years.
Well,
I can tell you bills. I can show you actual monetary
I know
bills.
you were talking about your contractors, but that's where this world is. That's where I think the politicians and the government has sort of positioned things. Corporate America position things. They want people to learn trades. They want people to learn, these kind of things. They're not looking at you to try to become the next CEO of big corporation A. They're looking for you to be able to understand how to fix an air duct, who could do this, who could do that, whatever that trade is, because you will need those skills. And honestly, for anybody who is listening, try to go take advantage of that. There's money out there to help you get to those trade schools and be able to learn those trades, be an apprentice, get a little bit of money, very little money at the beginning. But once you learn that trade, oh my goodness, how much can you make?
I'll tell you what, the running joke I had with one of the contractors was, you got these people in these nice, big, flashy corporate buildings, high rises, whatever it is. I'm sorry, if the elevator breaks down, who are they calling? And those elevator operators, they make $300 an hour.
Ouch. And honestly, if you look, and this is where, when you start seeing Polish and Russian and those kind of guys, those are the guys who learn those trades and who can do those things.
Mm-hmm. And I think you probably saw this more firsthand being in Europe in the time that you were. You see some more people in the trades there, I feel like. I feel like people there embrace being in the trades and specialty niches more than we do here in the United States.
I feel like they not only embrace having trades like that, and heck, we saw even at our hotel, there were constantly people going out, doing things, doing whatever. But it's okay to even be a garbage man. It's okay to even be any of those things, because you're actually doing something that has value, and people take pride in the work that they do. Not here in America, talking about America, in Europe. They care. They do their jobs, and quite frankly, kudos to them. Hey, that's what we're supposed to be about. Learn that trade and be good at it and care about it. And I think it makes a huge difference. Here, we complain that we're not getting enough money. We're not getting enough this. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, when you're working those trades over in Europe, when you get to be our age or my age, you actually can have a pension, because the taxes that you pay are actually going to a pension and not to someone's pocket, or someone's not doing the Ponzi scheme and used all of that pension fund to go travel the world, and now they're trying to gap that money back so that you don't notice that it was gone. That doesn't happen in Europe.
True. Valid point.
Very
valid point.
So just think about that. This is what capitalism looks like versus what people have called it. I don't know, socialism.
Well, we're going to reach a tipping point in the next 5, and I'm going to call it this next 5 years. It's probably sooner than probably what I think it is, but I think based on what I'm experiencing, this is what I'll tell you. Because of the dire need for certain trades in the country, electricians, plumbers, gas specialists, everything of that nature, they've already started naming their prices. Then, hey, you got a force to pay it. Believe me, that's already started in the last 5 years. I can show you receipts to prove that.
Yeah, but are they part of a union, or is this just how it's working?
I got non-union guys.
Oh, okay.
Free market, and the union's a whole different ballgame. And that exists more in the inner cities. And then you've got a whole different sector that you got to deal with too, because I've seen that firsthand in New York and a few other places I've been in. But at the end of the day, there's so few people going into these things that the commodity of the folks that are still in it is going to go sky high, and you're going to be forced to pay whatever it is. And honestly, people will not be able to afford it. We will get to a point where people will not be able to afford it. I mean, simple example I'll give before kind of jumping off this. I was trying to get this whole fireplace thing done for this repair thing I'm doing. I got outbid as low as $1,000, which is the fair market value. He itemized everything. It was perfectly. I could see what his labor rate, everything. All up to $5,000 for the same job.
It's crazy. We have some of that too. I'm on the board here.
And there are people paying it.
Yeah.
There are people paying because his work time is another 4 weeks out because of how busy he was.
Right.
So at this point, this guy's going to raise his rate, I'm sure, at some point, this $1,000 guy and everybody else. And all these people, and you, me, and everybody else, because of how sophisticated the world works and how technological we're becoming and everything else, we're going to have to force to be paid to fix things that we're putting in or doing whatever with, and you're not going to have enough labor hands to do it. So guess what? You're going to find that one guy, and he can charge whatever the hell he wants, and he deserves every penny that he gets. Absolutely. Just like when you go to a mechanic or you go to a doctor or a lawyer.
It's no different. For
that specialist, you know. So don't knock it. You know, it's all I can tell folks is honor the trades, honor things that are becoming more simplistic in life that you think are simplistic, but honestly, they're going to become the most difficult things in our lives, I think, going forward.
I mean, and they work hard, and I give them credit. These guys work hard. They know their trade. And you're right. People who are listening, if you don't have a path, you don't have a goal in life, at least get yourself a skill in the trades. Because if you work hard at those, you can actually save you some money, and you might be able to retire. And another thing that people don't look at from a dollars to time perspective is your per hour wage might be better than many people working in corporate America.
Well, I'll give you a good example. So there's a plumbing company that I've worked with for a number of years. It's all women, by the way. It's all women. And the way she built her business is she had a family of like 2 or 3 folks that, you know, that were in the craft and had learned from their grandfather or father, whatever it was. But she only hires women that have had to struggle in life, rather being, you know, domestically abused, battered, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. She'll go out and try to reach with these people and be like, hey, I'm going to teach you a trade.
Recruit them.
And these people are better off for it. And it's opportunity.
That's what I wish we would see more of. Help each other. You know, we're so busy in the way in this capitalistic society, we step on people to lift ourselves up, whether it's corporate America or otherwise. Why aren't we rising by using the ladder and then reaching back to pull people up? We don't do enough of that in this world, and it's more about just me being selfish and what about me and what I have. And again, I'm not saying you have to live the altruistic life that everything you do is predicated on how others feel, because I don't think that's the right way to live, but it doesn't hurt to
do what's best in your heart
too.
Yeah, you do what's best in your heart and what you want to give back to and things like that. It's your family, friends, people, whatever it is, you follow that dream and you make it happen. Because at the end of the day, I think most people inherently are good. And there's always a reason to want to help others at some point in time in your life, regardless of whether it's something.
I'm not sure. I'm not feeling that as much, and that might be a matter of perspective for you.
I get that. And like I said, I like to live in an optimistic world, but I know what realism is too. So I get that, you know. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's always opportunity to help another person, regardless of whether they want to or not. There's always an opportunity. So it's up to you, you know.
I totally agree with that. And it could be something as simple as, and I'll still do this, help a lady across the street, or have an older neighbor. And if she calls me and says, hey, I can't really do much today, can you help me get groceries? I'll do that, because that's what it's supposed to be about. And it doesn't take a whole lot of energy or effort or time to really make a difference in someone's life to help them out. Now, I'm not saying I go out and give people, the guy sitting at the corner with the sign, I'm giving them dollars. I'm not saying that I do that, because I don't. I used to subscribe to that. I had a couple of bad experiences with it, so I'd stay away from that. But it doesn't hurt to help someone. You know, I buy every I stopped doing this. I used to buy this, you know, I'd see bums, and they're always bumming for money, usually to go get alcohol and stuff. And what I would do is I'd get them food. I got this guy over at what is it called? Del Sol. This is a nice Korean barbecue restaurant. I bought him a couple of tacos, and I walked it over to him, and he was grateful for it. You know, he was just sitting there, and, you know, he was talking and stuff. And I just thought he was funny. I'm going to help him out too. Doesn't hurt. That $8 didn't change my life, but it really helped his for that one moment in that day.
Wait, in that $8, you helped someone's life. You felt better for it. You feel like you gave back to someone versus you going to get a coffee at Starbucks. you know, simple stuff.
Yep. So you don't have to do, you know, it's just grand what that lady did and what she's doing. People like her. I love it, to help women who are in bad positions, or help anybody who's in a bad position to raise themselves up. Kudos to you.
And more importantly, you created a happy memory for yourself. If you think about it,
I did.
I mean, hey, you publish about it, but that's something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. I can tell you the number of help people like that. That sticks with me more than something I've done on a day-to-day basis and spent money on or done stupid stuff on. You know, at the end of the day.
There are two things about that moment that'll stick. One, he was funny and I gave him that taco. Two, I had to hold my breath because when I breathed in after I was enjoying that and gave him the bag, oh my God, I thought I was gonna faint. This dude smelled like the trash from 1983 in New York, where they didn't have alleys. They would just sit on the street for a few days. That's what he smelled like.
He needed what I call the elephant shower.
Yeah, he sure did need an elephant shower. Boy.
Just a drenching.
Golly. You know,
Wash that stuff off.
yeah. You know, I want some of that old mechanic soap, the stuff that like there's soap and then there's mechanic soap.
Yeah,
mechanic soap. Yeah, it gets like dirt from 5 years ago when you didn't take a shower for a week. It gets rid of that dirt that's in your hands. That's kind of soap he needed.
There's a stuff called orange pumice I use if I get grease from my car on. Yeah, that's the
exactly. That's it.
Absolutely.
Hey, well, I just got to say, I want to wish everybody a wonderful day. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation and our banter and some of the insight that we provided as we recap the last week of sports, as well as also some of our insight in life, because we really want everybody to thrive and become the best version of themselves as they can be. And that's something that we both believe in, and hope that you're believing that in yourselves and consider that a mission for you to, explore and try to achieve.
Absolutely. I can't echo it any better. That makes sense. We'll come back to this later this week. We'll give you some predictions maybe for week 6 and definitely make it more entertaining. But in the meantime, go Chiefs, I'll say.
Go Chiefs, baby. Let's go. And I don't care if anybody says, I know some Native Americans, they haven't had any problem with me doing this. So stop it. When they do that, it's about the Chiefs. Nothing that
not only can we do it on my tribe,
degrade anybody or any race.
We even beat an Indian drum at the beginning of the games, if you haven't paid attention already. The Chiefs.
That's it, baby. That's it. Let's go, Mahomes. Chiefs Nation, baby.
Go Kelsey tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, I need him. I actually need him to score over 20 points for me to win one of my fantasy pools.
It was his birthday on Saturday, and Taylor will be there today. So let's see how that works out.
Hopefully Mahomes remember to throw him the ball, because I'm tired of this decoy stuff. You're killing my pick.
Yep. On that note, we'll see you guys later.
All right, man. Be well.
All right, man. Later.
Thank you.